When you look at the lives of extraordinary people, Carl Jung, Sigmund Freud, Albert Einstein, Nelson Mandela, it's easy to feel something uncomfortable, a quiet sense that your life is smaller, less meaningful, less important. They change the world, and you are just trying to figure yourself out. But what if that comparison is the very thing keeping you lost? Because according to Carl Jung, the meaning of your life has nothing to do with how visible it is. It has everything to do with how deeply it is lived. Jung believed that most people never truly discover who they are, not because they lack potential, but because they are afraid to look inside. Because inside, there is something uncomfortable, something most people avoid: the shadow. Jung described the human psyche as something far more complex than we imagine. At the center of our awareness, there is the ego, the part of you that you recognize, your identity, your story, the version of yourself you present to the world. But beyond that, there is something hidden, something unconscious, something powerful: your shadow. The shadow is everything you have rejected about yourself. Your anger, your envy, your fears, your impulses, even your hidden desires. The parts of you that were judged, criticized, or suppressed over time. And because they were rejected, they did not disappear. They went deeper, into the unconscious. And from there, they began to shape your life, without you even realizing it. Jung believed that your purpose is hidden inside that shadow. Not in your achievements, not in your titles, not in your image, but in the parts of yourself you are afraid to face. But here is the problem. Most people don't want to see their shadow. They prefer to believe they already know who they are. They identify with their persona, the mask they wear to be accepted, to be admired, to belong. And over time, that mask becomes so strong that they forget it is a mask. They become disconnected from their real self. And this is where suffering begins. Because the more you ignore your shadow, the more power it gains. You may think you are calm, but your suppressed anger will explode one day. You may think you are disciplined, but your ignored laziness will return as burnout. You may think you are kind, but your hidden resentment will leak into your relationships. Ignoring your shadow does not eliminate it. It feeds it. So Jung proposed something radical. Instead of avoiding your darkness, you must face it. Not to become it, but to understand it. This is what he called shadow work. And it begins with a simple but uncomfortable question. Why do I act the way I act? Not the surface answer, the real answer. Why did that situation trigger me? Why did I feel anger or envy or fear? What does that reveal about me? Jung believed that one of the clearest ways to see your shadow is through projection. The things you hate in others often exist within you. Hidden, repressed, unacknowledged. When someone irritates you deeply, pause. Ask yourself, is this something I also carry, even in a small way? This is not easy, because it requires honesty And honesty can be painful, but it is also liberating. Because once you see your shadow, you can begin to integrate it. And this is where everything changes. Integration does not mean becoming your worst traits. It means understanding them, using them, transforming them. Anger becomes strength. Envy becomes direction. Fear becomes awareness. Even laziness can become rest. Energy recovery, balance. Nothing in you is useless. It is only misunderstood. And once you begin to integrate your shadow, you become more whole, more stable, more real. But Jung didn't stop there, because self-knowledge alone is not enough. You can understand yourself deeply and still feel lost. Because meaning is not found in thinking, it is found in action. Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you will do." And this is where most people fail. They reflect, they analyze, they understand, but they do not act. They live reactively, waiting for the right moment, the right feeling, the right opportunity. But meaning does not come to you. You create it through action, through risk, through movement. And this brings us to something even deeper: fear. Jung believed that fear is not something to avoid. It is a signal, a direction. He said, "Where your fear is, there lies your task." Think about that. The thing you avoid the most is often the thing that matters the most. Not because it is easy, but because it challenges who you are and forces you to grow. But most people don't act, not because they are lazy, but because they are afraid. Afraid of failure, afraid of rejection, afraid of not being good enough. So they stay still. They stay safe. They stay comfortable. And in doing so, they lose meaning. Because a life without action is a life without direction. But here is something important. Even if you act, even if you grow, even if you become everything you aim to be, your life will not be perfect. Jung made this very clear. He said, "A life without darkness is not a real life. There is no meaning without struggle, no growth without pain, no strength without resistance. We want a life of only happiness, only success, only light. But that life would be empty. Because joy only has meaning when you have known suffering. Victory only matters when defeat is possible. And this is where many people misunderstand life. They think meaning comes from success. But Jung believed something different. Meaning comes from the process, from who you become while pursuing something. Even if you fail, even if you don't reach your goal, if you acted, if you faced your fears, if you grew, your life has meaning. Because you became more yourself. And that is the real goal. To become whole. To integrate your shadow. To act despite fear. To accept both light and darkness. And to keep moving forward. Again and again and again. Because meaning is not something you find once. It is something you build, throughout your entire life. So now, ask yourself honestly, what are you avoiding? What part of yourself are you refusing to see? What fear are you running from? Because behind that fear, behind that discomfort, behind that resistance is something important, something real, something that might change your life. And maybe your purpose has been there all along, waiting, not in the world, but inside you.